It's all around us. I'm actually touching it right now. Even though it makes up 78% of the atmosphere, it's hardly ever a usable substance for plants and animals to use. So this is why the nitrogen cycle is formed. And all living things rely on it for its daily nitrogen intake. But why do animals need nitrogen? Nitrogen only makes up 3% of an animal's body. The rest is made up by oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen, and the tiniest bit of potassium. Now, these are all given to the animal via the water and carbon cycle. But it seems pretty insignificant, 3%. But actually, nitrogen is needed to make amino acids, DNA, and RNA. So without nitrogen, you'd pretty much be nothing. But as I said before, nitrogen is hardly ever a usable form to animals, right? So they rely on plants to get their intake. Everything else is just going to have to either eat plants or eat things that have eaten plants to get their nitrogen. But what makes nitrogen gas so hard to break apart to begin with? Well, nitrogen 2 is actually made out of 2 nitrogen atoms joined together by, as you might have noticed, a triple covalent bond. One single covalent bond is hard enough to break enough, but 3 is absolutely crazy. So plants must rely on something else to break these apart. Plants can break apart many forms of nitrogen: nitrates, nitrides, and ammonia, which is formed from ammonia when it's mixed with H2O. But nitrogen gas is way past the level where plants can use assimilation. So plants must rely on something else to do this for them. The process of breaking up nitrogen gas is called nitrogen fixation. And the bacteria which do this is called fixation bacteria. Nitrogen fixation bacteria is found in soil, water, and sometimes forms symbiotic relationships with some legumes and other plants. This is when two living things live together in harmony with a I scratch your back, you scratch mine kind of attitude to their relationship. The fixation bacteria transports the nitrogen into ammonia. Ammonia is then either given directly to the plant in the form of ammonium, which is when ammonia is mixed with H2O to form ammonia. The plant does have trouble absorbing this, and it hasn't got the ability to do it as quickly as it would in other forms. So what usually happens is it goes to nitrifying bacteria. And nitrifying bacteria takes the ammonium and turns it into different nitrogen oxides. So nitrogen, nitrate, and nitrite. Plants therefore then find it quite simple to absorb these different types of nitrogen. More than just bacteria can do this step though. Some funguses and decomposers can also do this. But once the plants get it in there, nitrogen starts forming up the food chain. So as it goes, an animal eats the plant, animal eats and makes it into their own amino acids and DNA and RNA, and that animal is either eaten by another animal, killed, or decomposes. And as it decomposes, the decomposers eat the animal and turn it back into its nitrates or nitrites. However, bacteria is not the only thing which is strong enough to break apart nitrogen gas. Lightning, surprisingly enough, is actually strong enough to break apart the gas, which is awesome enough to mention, I thought. And also, scientists in the 20th century were able to discover a way to synthesize the fixation process. And that's how we now get all our fertilizers, which is severely affecting the amount of nitrogen which is in our air. Nitrogen continues going around the food chain in this cycle, and as it moves around, it goes back into its nitrate forms and its nitride forms, and back up to its and through animals and plants, until one day it gets absorbed by a denitrifying bacteria. This bacteria takes the NO3 or NO2 and turns it back into nitrogen gas. And as it does its business and releases it, it releases the N2 back into the atmosphere, and the cycle continues. To recap what we just covered, nitrogen fixing bacteria first gets the N2 because the bonds are too strong for any other living thing to absorb it. Then it is passed either directly to the plant when it's mixed with water, or it's passed, which will go directly down to bacteria, the nitrites in bacteria, which will convert it into NO3 negative or NO2 negative. And this will be absorbed by plants, and it will move through the cycle of the food chain, going from plant to animal to decomposing, until one day it is from the decomposer, it is in the form of a nitrogen oxide, where denitrifying bacteria will turn it back into nitrogen gas.